house was silent when Chichi returned. Too silent. He closed the door softly, his heart pounding harder than it should. It was stupid. He had done nothing wrong, at least not tonight. He had only gone to see Adaora to talk to figure out if they were in danger. But the moment he stepped inside, he felt it. Something was wrong. Something was waiting. "You're home late, love." Chichi flinched. He turned toward the living room where Chichi sat curled up on the couch, a wine glass in her hand, her eyes locked onto him. She looked relaxed, too relaxed, like she had been waiting, watching. Chichi forced a smile, setting down his keys. "Yeah, got caught up with some work stuff." Chichi tilted her head slightly, her smile never fading. "Work?" she echoed. Chichi nodded quickly. Yeah, you know how it is." Chichi hummed, taking a slow sip of wine. "I do." She didn't press further, didn't demand an explanation. She just smiled as if she already knew the truth. Chichi's stomach twisted. "Come sit with me," Chichi murmured, patting the space beside her. Chichi hesitated for a second, then he forced himself to move, forcing himself to act normal. She leaned against him when he sat down, resting her hand on his shoulder, her fingers tracing slow patterns on his arm. "I missed you," she whispered. Chichi swallowed. "I missed you too." Another lie. Chichi sighed softly, nuzzling into his neck. "I had a long day," she murmured. "Yeah?" Chichi asked, his voice a little too tight. Her fingers traced over his chest, her nails dragging lightly against his shirt. "I spent the afternoon thinking about us." Chichi's breath hitched. "Thinking?" he echoed. Chichi smiled against the skin. "Yes, about how much I love you, about how lucky we are." She pulled back slightly, locking eyes with him. "You do feel lucky, don't you, love?" Chichi stared at her. For a second, he saw something in her eyes, something deep, something unreadable. Then he nodded quickly. Of course, Chichi, of course, I'm lucky." She held his gaze for a second longer, then leaned in, pressing a slow kiss to his lips. Chichi kissed her back, but his hands were shaking, and Chichi could feel it. The next morning, Adaora sent a text message. A single text. "We need to meet alone." Chichi smiled. It was happening faster than she expected. Adaora was starting to panic, starting to see the cracks in the mirror. "Good." Chichi let the message sit for an hour before responding. "Okay, let's meet at your place." She could already imagine Adaora's hesitation, could picture her staring at the screen, trying to decide if it was a bad idea. But in the end, she would agree, because Adaora had no other choice. She was already walking straight into the trap. By the time Chichi arrived, Adaora was waiting at the door. She looked tense, her arms crossed, her eyes scanning the empty car and street behind Chichi, looking for someone, looking for Chichi. Chichi smirked. "Relax, sister, I came alone." Adaora exhaled slowly, stepping aside to let her in. The apartment was the same as always, modern, sleek, cold, much like Adaora herself. Chichi stepped inside, taking her time, letting Adaora feel the weight of the silence. "What's this about, sister?" she asked softly. Adaora hesitated. For the first time in her life, she looked uncertain. She walked to the couch, sitting stiffly. "I wanted to talk to you about Chichi." Chichi arched a delicate brow. "Oh!" Adaora exhaled sharply. "Chichi, listen to me. Something is wrong." Chichi didn't blink. She just smiled. "Wrong?" Adaora's nails dug into her palm. "You've been different," she said carefully. "The way you act, the way you look at me, I don't know what it is, but I can feel it. Something is wrong, Chichi, and I need to know what it is." For a long, painful moment, Chichi just stared at her. Then she laughed, soft, gentle, terrifying. "Oh, Adaora," she whispered. "You always think you know everything." Adaora's breath hitched. "Chichi, but you don't, sister." Adaora froze. Something about the way Chichi said that was, sister. It was different, colder, sharper. Chichi leaned forward, tilting her head slightly. "You are afraid of me, aren't you?" Adaora's lips parted slightly. For a moment, she looked lost, like she wasn't sure what she was dealing with anymore. It's okay, Chichi whispered, reaching out and gently brushing a strand of hair from Adaora's face. Adaora flinched. Chichi's smile widened. I won't hurt you. Adaora swallowed hard. That's not what I... Shh. Chichi murmured. You are shaking, sister. You should relax now. Adaora pushed back slightly, her breath uneven. Chichi, I think you should leave. I think you should leave. Leave, please. Leave my house. Leave. Chichi tilted her head. Are you sure? Adaora didn't answer. Chichi sighed dramatically, standing up. Alright, she murmured, picking up her bag. I suppose I've overstayed my welcome. She turned towards the door but paused. Before opening it, without looking back, she whispered, You should be careful, Adaora. Adaora stiffened. What? Chichi turned slightly, smiling. You never know when the tables might turn. Then she walked out, closing the door softly behind her, leaving Adaora alone, staring after her breath coming in short, quick gasps. Because for the very first time in her life, Adaora didn't feel like the predator. She felt like the prey. Adaora locked the door immediately after Chichi left, her heart racing. Her hands were shaking. She pressed her back against the cold surface, trying to slow her breathing, trying to make sense of what had happened. This wasn't her sister, not the Chichi she had known and had control over her whole life. No, something had changed, something had shifted, and for the first time Adaora wasn't just uncomfortable, she was afraid. Her own sister had just looked into her eyes and asked if she was afraid. And the worst part, she hadn't been lying. She indeed was afraid. Deeply, unexplainably, horribly afraid. She fumbled for her phone, her fingers pressing down on Chiki's number. Before she could think too much about it, the call barely rang before he picked up. Adaora. His voice was tense, breathless, like he had been waiting, like he had been hoping she would call. Chike, she whispered, her throat dry. Chike, are you there? She came to see me. I asked her to come to see me alone, and she came to see me. Chike exhaled sharply. What did she say? Adaora swallowed hard, her hands still shaking, still trembling. Nothing. Adaora closed her eyes and the call ended. After that short call, Chike let out a shaky breath. His fingers pressed into his temples, his body tense with something heavier than guilt now. Fear. He turned to the bedroom door. It was half open. Chichi was inside, sitting at her vanity, brushing her hair slowly. She looked peaceful, like nothing was wrong. Like she hadn't just turned his entire world inside out. His stomach churned. He had known Chichi for years, had loved her, had stood beside her at the altar, had betrayed her, but the woman in that room, that wasn't his wife. That wasn't the soft-hearted woman he had married. That was someone else. Something else. You are staring, love. Chike's body stiffened. Chichi was still at the mirror, still brushing her hair. She hadn't even turned to face him. And yet, she knew that he was standing there, knew that he was watching her, knew that he was afraid. Come here, she murmured softly, her voice smooth, dangerous. Chike's pulse jumped. Chichi, come here. It wasn't a request. It was a command. Chike swallowed hard, his legs moving before his brain could stop them. He stepped inside, his eyes fixed on her reflection. She finally lowered the brush, tilting her head slightly. You've been distant, love, she murmured. Chike's throat went dry. No, I've just been worried. Her lips curled. Scared? Chike's heart slammed against his ribs. She stood up slowly, turning to face him, her gaze pinning him in place. Do I scare you, love? Chike took a step back. What? No, you don't scare me. Chichi took a step forward. But you are shaking. I can see you shake. Chike felt lightheaded. How did she know? His hands were at his sides, his body perfectly still, and yet she knew. She always knew. Chichi sighed dramatically, pressing her hand to her chest. That hurts, love. After everything we've been through, you're scared of me? Me, your wife? Chike couldn't breathe. Chichi smiled softly, reaching up and cupping his face. I love you, Chike. Don't be scared. Her thumb brushed over his lips, slow and deliberate. You love me too, don't you? Chike's body locked, his breath hitched, his mind screamed at him to lie, to play along, to stay safe. So he did. Of course, Chichi. Of course, I do love you. You know I do. Chichi tilted her head, studying him, measuring him. Then she sighed, turned and walked out of the room like nothing had happened, like she hadn't just proven that she owned him. Chike let out a slow, shuddering breath. He needed to get out of here as fast as possible. Chike met Adara at a hotel later that night. He didn't tell Chichi he was leaving, didn't make a noise when he slipped out of bed, didn't even look back. By the time he arrived, Adara was already there, pacing the room, her arms crossed tightly. She turned as soon as she saw him. Chike, she breathed, relief flooding her voice. Chike collapsed onto the chair, running a shaky hand down his face. We are in trouble. Adara exhaled sharply, sitting across from him. I know. We need to get out. Chike looked up sharply. What? Adara leaned forward, her voice low, urgent. We need to leave. Like separate, get out of our reach. Chike's stomach dropped. You think she will hurt us? Adora's face darkened. I don't think. I know. Chike felt sick. He didn't want to believe it, didn't want to accept that the woman he had married was capable of that, but deep inside, he already knew. He had felt it in the way she looked at him, in the way she touched him, in the way she whispered I love you while staring at him like he was already dead. How do we leave? He muttered. Adora licked her lips. I have a plan, but we need to move fast. Chike nodded, his hands clenching into fists. Okay, tell me. The hotel room was quiet, too quiet. Chike sat on the edge of the bed, his body tight with nerves, his hands clenched into fists. Adora was pacing, biting her lip, her fingers tapping restlessly against her arm. We need to be smart about this, she muttered. Chike just stared at the floor. Everything felt wrong, like they had already lost. I have a contact, Adora continued, her voice low. Urgent, someone who can get us new numbers, maybe even she will know, Chike said suddenly. Adara stopped pacing. What? Chike lifted his head slowly, his eyes hollow. She will know, Adara. It doesn't matter how careful we are, she will know. Adara scoffed. You are acting like she's some kind of god. Chike's throat tightened. That's the thing. His voice was barely a whisper. I think she is. Adara exhaled sharply, shaking her head. No, we are not doing this. We are not letting her get inside our heads. Chike laughed hollowly. Inside our heads? He rubbed his temples, his breath uneven. Adara, she's been living inside my head for weeks. I can't even sleep without feeling like she's watching me. Adara hesitated because deep down she felt it too. The creeping sensation that no matter where they ran, no matter what they did, Chichi was always ahead of them. We have to try something, she muttered. Chike nodded weakly, but something inside him already knew it wouldn't work. After planning, they left the hotel before dawn, not running, not panicking, just walking, moving like two people trying not to get caught. Adara had a friend, someone she trusted, who would pick them up and get them out of the city for a few days. Once we are far enough, we can figure out our next move, she whispered. Chike just nodded. His heart was pounding so hard it hurt. Every step felt like a mistake. They reached the meeting point, a small hidden spot near an abandoned street where the car was supposed to pick them up. But there was no car, just silence, and a single phone ringing. Adara and Chike froze. The phone was lying on a nearby bench, ringing, a slow, deafening sound in the dead air. Adora's hands clenched into fists. Don't answer it, Chike whispered, his voice shaking. The phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing. Adara took a slow, shaky step forward, and then it stopped. Chike felt a cold shiver race down his spine, and then the screen lit up with a single text message. Go home, love. I made dinner. Chike felt his legs give out. He collapsed onto the bench, his breath shallow, erratic. No, this can't be. Adora just stood there, staring at the message, her body locked in place, her mind short-circuiting because she knew without a doubt that Chichi wasn't guessing, she wasn't bluffing. She had known exactly where they would be. She had been watching them the whole time, and now she was waiting. They didn't even talk on the way back. They just walked home defeated, completely, utterly defeated. By the time they reached the house, Chichi was already at the front door waiting. She was wearing a soft yellow dress, looking like the perfect devoted wife. "Welcome home, love," she murmured, smiling. Chichi's stomach churned. Adora's fist clenched. Chichi's eyes flickered to the side, landing on Chichi's shaking hands. Her lips curled slightly. "You are trembling, love," she whispered. "You must be so tired." She reached out gently, brushing a thumb over his cheek. "Come inside. Dinner is getting cold." Chichi sat at the dining table. Adora sat, her fingers barely touching her untouched plate of food. And Chichi, she was smiling, calm, serene, like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just shattered their last hope of escape. "You should eat, love," she murmured. Chichi didn't move, didn't blink, didn't speak. Adora's breath was shallow, her eyes locked on Chichi with an expression that was somewhere between horror and disbelief. She still couldn't accept it, couldn't understand it. How had they lost before they even began? "You went through all the trouble just to run," Chichi continued softly, stirring her tea with slow, deliberate motions. "You must be so hungry." Adora slammed her fork down. "Why are you doing this?" Chichi lifted her eyes slowly, her expression blank. "Doing what?" Adora's chest rose and fell sharply. This little act, this smiling, the pretending, the games, what do you want from us?" Chichi's smile widened, just slightly. "Oh, Adora," she whispered, setting her spoon down gently. "You are still so blind." "You think this is a game?" Chichi asked, tilting her head. "Do I look like I'm playing?" Chichi leaned forward, resting her chin in her palm, watching Adora. "I wonder," she mused, tapping her nails against the table. "What were you two going to do if you got away?" Neither of them answered. Chichi sighed dramatically, reaching for a knife and a slice of fruit. "Would you have gone back to your perfect little life, Adora?" she asked, lightly cutting into the fruit. The sharp blade sliced through the flesh effortlessly. Adora stiffened. "Would you have found another man to steal?" She cut the fruit again, slow, precise. The sound of the knife dragging against the plate sent chills down Chiki's spine. "Would you have moved on, found another sister to ruin?" Chiki swallowed thickly. He could see it now, the edge in Chichi's voice, the venom bleeding through her smiles. Adora's fingers curled into fists. "You are crazy," she whispered. Chichi's smile didn't falter. She simply lifted the knife, turning it slowly between her fingers. "Maybe," she murmured. Then before anyone could react, she slammed the blade down straight into the wooden table. The sound echoed through the room. Adora flinched, Chiki's breathing stopped, and Chichi, she simply lifted her eyes, her smile gone. "But at least I know what I am," Chichi said. The room was dead silent, the knife still buried in the wooden table. Adora's breath came in shallow, her eyes locked on the blade. Chichi didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe, and Chichi, she was still smiling. She lifted her head, fingertips grazing the knife handle, slow, soft, a caress, not a grip. She pulled it out, didn't touch it with any force, just let it sit there like a loaded gun on the table, like a silent promise. Adora's fingers curled into her palm, her nails digging into her skin. "You are both so quiet," Chichi murmured, her voice smooth, almost bored. She dragged her nails slightly down the table's surface, creating a soft, unbearable scratching sound. Adora's spine stiffened. She refused to look up, refused to meet her sister's eyes because she knew if she looked, she would see something very horrifying, something she wasn't ready for. Chichi was the one who broke first. Chichi, his voice was barely above a whisper, like a man praying to a god he knew he wouldn't answer. Chichi didn't react immediately. She just tilted her head, studying him. "Yes, love." Chichi swallowed hard. "Please." His throat bobbed, his fingers twitching against his lap. "Please stop." Chichi let out a soft, amused laugh. "Stop what?" She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table, her chin on her hand. "You think I'm doing something to you, Chichi?" Chichi's chest rose and fell sharply. "Chichi." "Shh." Chichi reached across the table, placing a finger against his lips. "I want you to do something for me, love." Chichi's shoulders tensed. Adora gritted her teeth. "Don't," she whispered. Chichi's eyes slid to her. Don't what? Adora's pulse pounded violently. She didn't know. She didn't even know what she was trying to stop. Chichi's smile widened. She turned her attention back to Chichi. Tell her, love. Chichi's eyes flickered. Adora's breath hitched. Tell her what? Chichi leaned in, her lips so close to Chichi's ear that Adora could barely hear the whisper. Tell her that I know. Chichi's entire body locked, his fingers curled so tightly that his knuckles turned white. Adora stared at him. Chichi, he didn't answer, didn't blink, didn't even breathe. What does she mean? Adora's voice wavered slightly. Still, Chichi didn't move. Chichi said nothing, then Chichi sighed. Do I have to do everything myself? She reached out gently, gripping Chichi's chin, turning his face toward Adora. Tell her, love, she purred. Chichi's throat tightened, his lips parted slightly, and then he said, She knows, Adora. She knows everything that happened on the wedding day. She saw everything and heard everything. Adora's stomach dropped. Her mind went blank. The room suddenly felt smaller, tighter, suffocating. She tried to speak, but no words came out. Chichi let go of Chichi, sitting back with satisfaction. Dear, that wasn't so bad, was it? Adora's hands trembled against her lap. How long? Chichi didn't answer, but Chichi did. Since the wedding, of course. Adora's entire body froze. Her eyes started ringing. No, it came out as a whisper, disbelieving. Yes, Chichi countered sweetly. You thought you were so careful, sister. So smart, so sneaky. But I've always known, Adora. I've always known since the day you laid your filthy little hands on my husband. Adora shook her head violently. That's not possible, Chichi just smiled. Oh, sweet sister. She tapped a single finger against the knife. You should know by now nothing is impossible for me. Adora's stomach twisted. Her mind was spinning. No, she would have known. She would have sensed something. She would have. Chichi suddenly stood up. Adora flinched instinctively. Enough talking! Her voice dangerously smooth. Eat! She grabbed the knife from the table in one swift motion. The scraping sound of the metal against the wood sent a jolt through Adora's body. Chichi walked toward Chichi, slow, deliberate. She held the knife loosely in her hand, the blade catching the light. Adora's pulse pounded violently. Don't, she whispered. Chichi ignored her. She stopped behind Chichi, running the flat edge of the knife across his shoulder. Eat, love, she whispered into his ear. Chichi's entire body locked. Please, he croaked. Chichi sighed dramatically. Such a dramatic man, she muttered. Then she pressed the cold blade against his cheek. Adora shot up from her chair. Leave him alone! Chichi turned slowly, her eyes gleaming with amusement. Oh, are you scared now? She dragged the knife down Chichi's jawline, painfully slow. Adora couldn't breathe. Chichi, please, she choked out. Chichi's lips curled. Then without warning, she lifted the knife and stabbed it into the table again. The loud sound rang through the room. Adora jumped. Chichi squeezed his eyes shut, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Chichi exhaled softly. Then she smiled. See? That wasn't so bad. She lifted her plate, standing up gracefully. I will leave you two to enjoy your meal. She turned and walked away, humming softly. Adora and Chichi just sat there, frozen, trapped in the silence she left behind. The moment Chichi left the dining room, the air grew heavier. Adora and Chichi sat frozen. The sound of Chichi's soft humming drifted from the hallway, her presence still lingering like a ghost. Adora's fingers trembled as she gripped her fork. She couldn't eat. She wouldn't eat. But Chichi was still in the house, and she was watching. She knew it. She could feel it. Chichi slowly exhaled, his body rigid. What do we do? Adora whispered, her voice shaking. Chichi didn't answer. He just sat there staring at his plate. Chichi, she tried again, a desperate edge creeping into her voice. Still, he didn't speak. He looked like a man standing at the edge of a cliff, trapped, hopeless, and for the first time, Adora realized Chichi wasn't thinking about escaping. He was thinking about surviving. Her chest tightened. Chichi! His hand switched slightly. Then slowly, he reached for a spoon. He scooped up a small bite of rice, lifting it into his mouth with shaking fingers. Adora's pulse pounded violently. "Don't," she whispered. Chiki didn't stop, didn't hesitate. He ate, chewed slowly, and swallowed. Then he placed the spoon down with a soft clink, his eyes meeting hers. "Eat, Adora." Her stomach twisted painfully. "No, eat," he repeated, his voice low, exhausted. Adora's eyes burned. Chiki was right. Chichi was watching. If they didn't eat, she would know. Her hands shook as she lifted her spoon. The food touched her tongue. She swallowed. Nothing tasted wrong. Nothing felt off. But deep inside, she knew they had already lost. Adora's breathing slowed. Her arms felt heavy. Her thoughts blurred. Chiki's head dropped slightly, his eyelids fluttering. Something was wrong. "Chiki!" His hands twitched. Adora tried to stand. Her legs buckled. The world tilted violently. A deep, unnatural heaviness settled into their bones. Her body was shutting down. Her heart pounded sluggishly like it was drowning. Chiki made a low, strangled noise. Adora's vision darkened. Her last thought before everything went black. "We are going to die." The first thing Adora felt was cold. Not the cold of air conditioning. Not the cold of fear. Real physical cold. The kind that clings to your skin like death. Her body jerked. She was moving. No, she was being dragged. Her head lowered to the side, her vision blurry. The corridor tilted and swayed, her ears ringing. Footsteps, heavy breathing. A shadow loomed over her. Chichi, she was dragging her. Adora's pulse spiked in terror. "No, no, no." Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Her body was useless. She wasn't the only one being dragged. Chiki was in front of her. His body limped as Chichi pulled him toward the front door. Adora's chest tightened. No, this was real. This was happening. They were going to die. Chichi paused. She looked around, checking the street. The night was still, silent. A car passed by in the distance, but no one was watching. Slowly, carefully, she opened the boot of the car. Then she lifted Chiki's unmoving body and dumped him inside. Adora wanted to scream, wanted to fight, but she couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Then Chichi turned and smiled. "Oh, I almost forgot about you, sister." Adora choked on a silent sob. Chichi grabbed her by the ankle, yanking her forward. Adora's head hit the pavement. Pain bloomed at the back of her skull, her vision blanking. Then she was shoved inside the boot as well. The world disappeared into darkness when she slammed the boot. When Chichi started the car, Adora's breathing came in short. The air in the boot was thick, suffocating. Beside her, Chiki stared weakly. "Adora," he croaked. She squeezed his arm, her body trembling. "Chiki, what do we do?" She whimpered, tears spilling down her cheeks. Chiki had no answer. The car slowed. Adora's pulse spiked. Then, a voice from outside. "Madam, park, 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 park." Adora froze. Her body locked. Police. It was the police. She turned to Chiki, hope sparking in her chest. "We have to scream, we have to scream." She whispered desperately, but there was no strength to scream. Chiki nodded weakly. Adora took a deep breath. Then Chichi said, "Good evening, officer." Chichi's voice was so calm, honeyed and perfect. "Is something wrong?" The officer cleared his throat. "Routine check, madam. We need to see what's in your boot. You know as this street they be. It dey dangerous. Abeg, open your boot make we check am." Adora and Chiki went still. Their chance. This was their chance. A long pause. Then the officer laughed. "Oh, madam, now you. Now you, madam. Well done, madam. Well done, madam. Well, madam, thank you for everything we did do. Thank you for the food. Thank you for how you dey help the boys. Thank you, madam. I know realizing now you. Thank you, madam." No. Chiki's entire body tensed beside her. "It's no problem, officer." Chichi pawed. "Shall I go?" "Yes, of course, madam. Have a good night." They go. The police officer's footsteps retreated. The car started moving again. Adora's hope collapsed. She turned to Chiki, her voice barely a whisper. "We are going to die." Chiki closed his eyes. "I know." The boot popped open and the night air rushed in, sending a violent shiver down Adora's spine. Her head throbbed. Her limbs felt like dead weight. The drug was still in her system. making her body sluggish, weak. She could barely keep her eyes open. But through the haze, she saw Chichi standing over them, her silhouette bathed in moonlight, her eyes gleaming with something cold and merciless. "Wake up, sleepyheads," she said. Adora let out a muffled whimper. Chichi smiled. "Oh, don't start crying yet, sister. There's a lot of time to cry. Not now. Enjoy the show." Then, without another word, Chichi grabbed Chike first. Right in front of them, barely a few feet away, two freshly dug graves. Adaora's pulse spiked violently. Her eyes widened in sheer horror. She barely even noticed the headstones standing at the edge of the pits until she saw what was carved on them: Chike and Adaora. Her lungs collapsed. The reality hit her like a violent storm. Chichi had planned this, every single part of it. She drugged the food, the fake kindness, the police. She had orchestrated everything. She had already prepared their graves. Adara let out a shaking, muffled scream. Chichi crouched beside Chike first. "Tell me, love." Her voice wasn't angry. It wasn't filled with rage or fury. It was calm, almost affectionate. "Why did you betray me?" Chike didn't move, didn't blink. His breath came in short. Adora could see the fear in his eyes, the same fear that was consuming her whole. Chichi's lips curled. "You told me you loved me." Her fingers brushed along Chike's cheek, almost tender. "You stood beside me on our wedding day." She sighed softly. "You kissed me. You promised me forever." Her voice dropped lower, but instead you chose her. She lifted her head, turning toward Adora. Adora stiffened. She shook her head frantically. "No, no, 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 no." Chichi smiled. "You always wanted everything, didn't you, sister?" She leaned closely. "Even when we were kids, you got whatever you wanted." Adora's mind spun. She knew where this was going. She remembered the way their parents always favored Adora, the way Adora always got the best dresses, the best attention, the best love, the way Chichi had always been the second choice. "And now you wanted him too, right? You took my husband from me." Chichi's voice was barely above a whisper. Adora squeezed her eyes shut, tears racking through her body. "You stole him, Adora." The words cut like ice. "You took the only thing I ever loved." Adora's body shook violently. Her muffled cries filled the empty graveyard. Chichi let out a deep, slow sigh. "But don't worry." She rose to her feet, dusting off her dress. "We're all going to be together soon." She turned towards the car. "I just have one last thing to get." She walked away, humming softly. Adora and Chike lay there, helpless, their backs pressed against the cold earth. They couldn't run, couldn't fight, and in front of them their graves waited. The night air felt thicker, pressing against Adora's skin like a living thing. Adora's mind spun. This couldn't be real. This had to be a nightmare, a horrible, endless nightmare. But the dirt beneath her was real. The cold in her bones was real. And Chichi was more real than ever. She had left them for now, disappearing into the car, but she'll be back. Adora could hear her humming softly, the sound distant, yet terrifying. Chike stared beside her, his body twitching weakly. Adora turned her head as much as she could, her eyes pleading with him. "What do we do?" Chike met her gaze, his own eyes hollow with despair. He didn't know. He had no plan. He had no escape. Adora squeezed her eyes shut, tears spilling down her face. Was this it? Was this how their story ended? The sound of footsteps sent a violent shiver down Adora's spine. She turned her head frantically, trying to see. Chichi's silhouette appeared, bathed in the dim moonlight. She was holding something, a shovel. Adora's breath hitched. Chichi let out a deep sigh of satisfaction, planting the shovel into the dirt beside the graves. "You're still awake," she mused, crouching beside them. Adora's body stiffened. Chichi reached out, caressing her cheek with her cold fingers. "Poor Adora." She tilted her head, studying her like a broken doll. "You've always been the perfect one, haven't you?" Adora whimpered, shaking her head desperately. "But tell me, sister," she whispered, leaning in close. "Was it worth it?" Adora stilled. Chichi's voice dropped lower, venom dripping from every word. "Was taking my husband worth it?" Adora's chest caved caved in. Chichi let out a humorless chuckle, turning her attention to Chike. "And you," she murmured, dragging her fingers across his forehead. Chike flinched. "Did you ever love me?" Chike's body shook. Chike's eyes darkened. "Go on, love," she whispered. "Tell me the truth." Chike's breath stuttered, his eyes glistened with raw fear. Chichi watched him struggling for a moment, then sighed. "You can't even answer me." Her hand tightened around his jaw, her grip unyielding. "You were supposed to be my forever, Chike." Adora watched helplessly as Chike's face twisted in regret. Then she stood, gripping the shovel once more. "Well, love, let's see if you're still useful." Adora's blood ran ice cold. Chichi ignored her. Stepping behind Chike, Adora's heart slammed against her ribs as she realized what was about to happen. "Sweet dreams, love." She raised the shovel and swung. Adora let out a horrified scream, watching as Chike's body jerked violently before going still. Her body seized in terror. Chike wasn't moving. He wasn't making a sound. Chichi tilted her head, examining her work. Then she smirked, one down. Adora's vision blurred, her mind spinning in sheer horror. This was it. Chike was gone. She was next, and no one was coming to save her. Chichi turned to Adora, a wicked gleam in her eyes. "And now, dear sister, it's your turn." Adora screamed, and the night swallowed her whole. Chichi stood over Chike's motionless body, the shovel still gripped tightly in her hands. The air was thick with silence. Adora's heart pounded violently against her ribs. She couldn't breathe, couldn't look away. The dim moonlight cast a long shadow behind Chichi, making her look taller, like a monster, stronger, unstoppable. Then she moved. She raised the shovel high and slammed it into the dirt again and again. The sickening sound of the metal against the earth sent a violent shiver through Adora's body. She was digging, making the grave deeper, more fitting, more permanent. Adora let out a muffled sob. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. Chichi hummed softly as she walked, her movement slow and methodical. She wasn't in a rush. She had all the time in the world. Adora needed to break free. She needed to run. She needed to leave. She shifted slightly, keeping her movement small, controlled. Chichi's back was turned, still focused on the grave. "And where do you think you are going, sister?" Adora's blood turned ice cold. She froze. Her breath hitched as she felt Chichi's presence behind her. Slowly, painfully, slowly she turned her head. Chichi stood over her, the shovel still in her hands, her expression unreadable and scary. Adora's entire body tensed in terror. Chichi stared at her for a long moment. Then she laughed, low, soft, but it wasn't amused. It was dark, hollow, terrifying. "Oh, Adora," she sighed, shaking her head. "You never learn, do you?" Adora's chest rose and fell rapidly. She needed one chance. "You actually think you can escape?" Chichi continued, her voice almost mocking. She took a slow, deliberate step forward. Adora swallowed hard, her pulse hammering in her ears. Chichi crouched down, her fingers trailing through the dirt beside Adora's face. "If you run," she murmured, her voice dripping with certainty, "where would you go?" Adora's lips trembled. Chichi smiled. "No one is coming for you." Adora's body shook. "No one cares." Tears spilled from Adora's eyes. "No one even knows you are here." Chichi reached out, caressing Adora's cheek gently. "You're already dead, sister." Adora's lungs clenched. "No, no, no." This wasn't over yet. Not yet. Chichi moved to stand, her gaze shifting back towards Chike's grave, and in that split second, Adora struck. Chichi turned, her eyes narrowed. "What the hell are you doing?" Chichi's smile dropped. "Enough of this." She raised the shovel. In one fluid motion, Adora rolled away just as the shovel came crashing down where she had been. Dirt exploded around her. She scrambled to her feet and her legs weak, unsteady. But she was free. For the first time in hours, she could move. Chichi blinked, then her lips curled. "Oh," she whispered, her voice dark with amusement. "You want to play?" Adora took a staggered step backward. Her heart was racing so fast it hurt. She looked to the grave, to Chike still unmoving. She had no time to help him. She had only one choice, run. And so she did. She turned and bolted into darkness, her legs burning. Behind her, Chichi laughed softly. Run, sister. The voice chased her into the night. Let's see how far you get. The night swallowed Adara whole. She ran, blindly, desperately. The cold air sliced through her skin, branches scraping against her arms, her legs burning with every step. Her heart slammed violently against her ribs. Her lungs screamed for air. She could barely see through the tears flooding her eyes. But she didn't stop, couldn't stop, because behind her, Chichi was laughing. Run, sister! The voice echoed through the darkness, drenched in amusement. Run as fast as you can. Adora's chest tightened with raw terror. The graveyard stretched into the wilderness beyond, the thick bushes twisting into a maze of trees and shadows. She didn't know where she was, didn't know where she was going. All she knew was she had to get away. She stumbled over an exposed tree roots, collapsing onto the damp earth. Help! She shrieked, her voice raw, her words broken. Please, somebody help me! Help! Nothing came but the whispering wind. The trees stood motionless. The world felt empty. And then Chichi's footsteps, slow, steady, deliberate. Oh, sister. Adora's blood ran cold. She scrambled back onto her feet, bolting in another direction. Chichi's voice danced through the trees. You can run, Adora. Adora tripped over a falling branch, pain shooting through her knee. She gasped, gripping her leg. But you can't hide. Adora clamped her hand over her mouth, biting back a sob, biting back a pain. She was breathing too loud. Her heart was thundering. She tried to move quietly, stepping deeper into the dense bushes. The leaves rustled beneath her weight. Chichi giggled softly. I can hear you, you know. Adora's throat tightened. No, she couldn't get caught. Not now. I know this place better than you, Adora. Chichi's voice was closer now. Adora squeezed her eyes shut, tears spilling down her cheeks. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Are you scared? Adora beat down on her lip, suppressing the sob. You should be. A rustling sound came from the bushes nearby. Adora's breath hitched. She spun around, ready to run again. But a loud ringing noise pierced the air. Chichi's phone rings. Their mother. Chichi froze. The ringing echoed through the silence, bouncing off the trees. Adora clamped her hand over her mouth, barely breathing. She could hear Chichi let out an exasperated sigh. A few seconds later, she answered the call. Mama! Adora's heart twisted. Her mother, she was calling for her. Chichi! Chichi, have you seen Adora? Their mother's voice was worried, urgent. She hasn't been home since yesterday. Oh, I am getting worried. Have you seen your sister? Adora's lips trembled. She wanted to scream, to beg her mother to keep calling, to send someone to look for her. But Chichi's next words shattered everything. Oh, Mama, she laughed softly, shaking her head. She should be fine. Adora's stomach dropped. She told me she'll be hanging out with her friends for some days. You know, these girls hang out like a vacation kind of thing. Adora's blood ran ice cold. Her mother let out a relieved sigh. Oh, I see. I was just worried. You know how Adora is. She never tells me things. Adora's entire body convulsed in fear. Don't worry, Mama. Chichi's voice was sweet, reassuring. She'll be home soon. Adora felt the tears spill down her cheeks uncontrollably. Her hope, just like that, was gone. Chichi ended the call with a soft beep. Then she turned and smiled. Now, where were we?